What's up, you damn D-gens? It's Tuesday. The sun's out a little bit today. We got Super Bowl this week. We got hockey back. Beastie's all fired up about hockey. But let's bring him on in here. Beastie, what's going on here on this Tuesday?
Hello, yes, thanks for having me. Last night we had hockey back, and to be honest with you, it's kind of like a free-for-all. Nothing crazy. Yeah, I gave away a couple best bets, 60-minute final scores. But yesterday was a free-for-all. Anything goes. And today we're going to dig in. There's, how many games is there? 7, 8 of them. And I got a bunch of stacks I'm looking forward to. So much so, everything that I'm going to share on this broadcast today, I had done last night for the hockey slate because I was so excited about this dang thing. And it's Tuesday, one day closer to Super Bowl Sunday. So, yeah, where are we going to up?
Yeah, I mean, hey, we got obviously Super Bowl week here with Woodward Sports. We got the big Super Bowl party going on at the Brass Rail, which I'm going to go down there and check out. And hey, another good thing, BC, last night we got some money going on, man. Our best bets did pretty good last night. That I was 3-0. You had the 1-1 in the hockey. So yeah, dance it up, Spencer. We are dancing today with the good news with the best bets hitting. Yeah, obviously it's better than that stinky guy that pops up every once in a while here. But Beastie, the one exciting thing here that's coming up in the next few days, other than obviously the Super Bowl, is the NBA trade deadline is coming here soon. That is Thursday at 3 o'clock. I mean, you kind of look around here, the NBA, we know that the Pistons are talking about trading Grant here. So, not sure if that's somebody. James Harden's been talked about getting traded. CJ McCollum was dealt. We got all kinds of key pieces that could be moving around. So, man, that makes it a little bit more hectic too, with the NBA DFS and betting and everything else, because all of a sudden, you make a bet a little bit earlier in the day, and all of a sudden you find out one of these superstars with traded is being held out. I mean, it kind of puts a little damper in your parade, but lots of stuff going on here. So we're gonna have to keep our ears to the ground. We got another day here. Sabonis got traded to the Kings for Halliburton and Healed here. Spencer is telling me. So, man, I think it's going to be crazy here in these next few days with the trade deadline. Beastie, do you I mean, a lot of time in any sport, really, isn't it fun when they're starting to trade stuff? I mean, isn't that like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, as a fan, it's always fun, no matter what sport it is, when pieces start moving around. So, yeah, what do you think about this crazy trade deadline coming up here in a couple days?
Yeah, just a few things briefly. If anybody out there, and I know there's a bunch of you, me and even Scott, maybe Spence as well, don't want to speak for you guys here, but when you play fantasy football, seasonal hockey, fantasy, even fantasy stuff, to me, especially in a seasonal dynasty football league, trading is the best part. I have the most fun with that, maybe because I have a gift of gab. Maybe I'm not trying to outwit folks or get over on folks or steal from them, but I love all the interactions and all the chats leading up to a trade, in my own fantasy life. So then when you can spin that to the NBA or baseball, however put it's standing. And I know it's just 4 or 5 minutes after 6 p.m. Eastern here in Detroit, but that Halliburton Sabonis trade went down at, I believe, 2 or 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And if you go on social media, the internet is always undefeated. No one will ever beat that with all the memes and all the fun gifs and all that stuff. He said under the Sabonis and Halliburton trade that there's never going to be a more meaningless trade that ever goes down in the history of basketball. But I beg to differ here. Halliburton has been a nice little piece I don't want to say as a fill-in, but Halliburton and even Sabonis, they're kind of in the upper echelon in pricing for FanDuel or DFS and DraftKings here. So with moving around, you have to pay close attention to it, because again, I'm glad it went down early afternoon, because as lock approaches here within the next 45 or 50 minutes, I would imagine Halliburton, Sabonis are not going to be available for this evening. And if you're using an optimizer, you X them out, or if whatever you're doing is of sound mind here, those guys won't be available either. But it just, again, Scott, it adds another layer of strategy here, right? If I'm in a GPP or a cash game, and I know I can cut out Sabonis or Halliburton, and some poor sack, some poor soul here puts Halliburton and some in the same lineup, well, guess what? I mean, that they'd be left out here. So you have to pay attention to everything. But again, it's all a matter of perspective. Get it as it's great. It's very I enjoy it all. And some folks might be more miserable about it, but to me, I love any trade deadline, even if it is the NBA, and that's saying much because I'm basically a hockey and a baseball guy. But to me, NBA trade deadline. Three on Thursday should be full of glitz and glamour. A lot of bombs going to be dropped there. I can just feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you mentioned there about the trades with the, your fantasy leagues and everything else. That's always fun to get in there and trade with your fantasy leagues. A lot of times, it's kind of difficult. Everybody always thinks you're trying to pull one over on them, but I mean, trading is half the fun, like you said, the interaction of trading and everything else. But before we get too far here, Beastie, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor of the show at Better Rate Mortgage. Better Rate Mortgage. Family is more than blood. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit mybetterrate.com or call 248-480-4467 today. But Beastie, we obviously know we got the big Super Bowl here coming up this weekend. I was looking around today and I thought I saw some stuff here that was really interesting. It was a Super Bowl betting reports here, and just kind of wanted to look around here at the biggest Super Bowl bets here so far at that's been put in. The 4.534 million on the Bengals money line at plus 170 at Caesars. That's that's the old famous Mr. Mattress Mac. Was told he had to drive over to Louisiana. He made 20 some bets at $200K a piece at different times here to get to that 4.534 million. So Mattress Mac leads the way here with the largest bet so far on the Super Bowl on record here. And then we see the 522K on the Rams, 250, the 200K on the Bengals at plus 4.5, and then the 180 at Caesars. I'm going to assume we'll see some other big numbers as well moving forward. But there was a few future bets as well, Beastie, that were placed a while ago, like 50K on the Bengals at 20 to 1 odds at BetMGM to win the Super Bowl. That pays out $1 million. 13,440 at 35 to 1. That pays out 470. 18 to 1 on the Rams at 14 to 1 pays 252, and 20K on the Rams pays $180. So, Beastie, I thought that was kind of interesting. What do you think about old crazy Mattress Mac there? I mean, he's not even betting on a Houston team this time. He's riding with the Bengals here.
I know, and we were, for anybody out there that to us live right now on the podcast, out soon, and then on here, what you and I were chatting before we went live or before we started broadcasting here. I have no issue with Mattress Mac. He seems like a good guy. He doesn't seem like he puts others down. He's not using his money to into anything that's criminal, and you know what I'm getting at here. But when it comes to Mattress Mac, I think you're calling him, it's like, in a way, personally, he's doing too much. Because if you look at this, I was trying to write some of those down when that graphic popped back up, and you're looking 250K on the Rams minus the 4, and then he puts 200K on the Bengals plus 4.5. So to me, he's 250K on the Rams money line, 200K on the Bengals, plus 4.5. So in a way, you'd like to think he conversated with someone. He said, hey, this is where you're going to put your money. You're going to put X amount here, X amount there. But at the end of everything, final, how much can this guy really win? Because you look at 250K on the Rams money line, minus 200 at the points bet, and then 200K on the Bengals plus 4.5 at the MGM Grand. Those bets is going to win, obviously, and one of those bets is going. So to me, it's going to be.
I don't think all of them are his. I don't think all of them are his, Beastie. I think just the top one is his. Just the 4.5.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say that
the other is
a wash.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying. I think the others, I mean, who knows? There are probably some other prominent sports bettors. I know Floyd Mayweather likes to throw his money around, and other guys. Those are just the actual largest bets. But Mattress Mac actually placed the largest mobile wager in sporting bets history here when he bet basically he bet that 4.5 million. He kept driving over to Louisiana, basically across the state line to a gas station, and then he was betting a couple $100K at a time. So Mattress Mac there, I mean, man, You go to think what
Scott,
that dude would do if he had legalized betting in Texas, Beastie, man. That guy'd be nuts.
yeah,
Well, I guess you
this
are
right because
using it.
we bet. I use my phone most times to do my bets and my DFS. I'm sure you do as well. But the whole point is to have 250K. If I had 250,000 bucks, I wouldn't put it down on a team to win. I mean, that's the end result here. That's the end game for me, at least, is to make a couple hundred grand or 4.4, 4.5 million like Mattress Mac has. But to me, that just goes to show that this guy's been rich for so long. He needs more action in his life because again, a simple dummy like me, for winning 400 bucks would be outstanding. Winning 200 grand would be, I would disappear for 6 months. Give me 250K and boom, I'm in Europe or South America somewhere, and you wouldn't hear or see me in months here. So to me, it paints a picture of, Mattress Mac has so much money and he's doing all this stuff. Like literally nothing really gets him hyped up anymore. So to get all this action, the money is inconsequential to Mattress Mac. It's just the idea of placing such a massive wager, and if it loses or hits, he doesn't care because we saw him in I believe it was the World Series. He put a ton of money down on the Houston, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it hit. Just like memory here. So to me, it's not really about the winning or shelling out the money for Mattress Mac. It's all about getting that action. And sooner or later, what's left? If you're not getting excited about regular everyday stuff and you can only kind of move the needle, betting 4 or 5 million a pop here, the guy needs to find another hobby. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just comes from a place of jealousy because that kind of money on anything would be. I would keep it and run, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, BC, I learned too going through sports betting. I mean, hey, I won 400 some thousand in a couple months playing FanDuel DFS there for a good stretch. I mean, won quite a bit of money, won the monster in football, won 150K. And, I mean, then, you start betting more. I had more out there. I thought, I had world by the balls. I'm winning all this money. And then, over time, it does, you do realize that it doesn't really matter how much money it is. It's just about getting in there, having a little bit of fun. And then once you realize just to play for fun, it kind of takes away that extra stress ball that you don't need. I mean, it can get pretty stressful. I mean, back in the day, though, it was a little bit different with DFS because there wasn't as much information and optimizers that were out there. I was a little bit ahead of that curve. So did pretty well playing baseball DFS and all that time, when I mean, there wasn't half the information that was out there. It's changed so much here recently. But yeah, Beastie, I mean, you know what? You get all that money and then you realize, I had just as much fun getting in a couple $100 worth of tournaments than I did, 5,000 every day or, 10,000 every day on some days. I mean, they're just, it just goes to show you. I mean, it doesn't matter. You still lose, and then you're frustrated. You lost the money, and then you're trying to chase it, and you're looking back. Oh, I just had, 30,000 in my account. Now I'm down to 10, and it's only been, a couple days. I need to, hit one of these $5,000 ones, and maybe 3x, and get back up to 25 grand. I mean, yeah, it's just a losing adventure in the long run, I guess. But BC, I just learned to have fun with it all.
No doubt.
Sports betting and gambling has changed so much. I mean, I've been to the Playboy Mansion a couple times for this DFS event, spent a lot of the live, events here across the country. Most recently the DraftKings event with Miami and, been to San Diego, the baseball, Chicago events. I mean, it's a lot of fun, especially when you get to know a lot of these guys, met a lot of cool people along the way, a lot of the best DFS players in the world. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I just try to have fun with it at this point. Not try to have my name on the #1 ranking in DFS, Beastie. That is a very expensive endeavor. I just, it's all about volume. You can't, it's just too tough to get there. But either way, we got some NHL we're going to be able to look at today. We got some NBA. We got our college teams here playing tonight. But Beastie, let's dive into a little bit of NHL if you're ready.
Absolutely.
Want to get my pen ready right here, so I can write down some line combinations tonight for some DFS. So let's see what you got today, buddy.
Yeah, so you can see on the graphic, I love these things. There's 7 games tonight. Finally, not yet a full-time slate here. Normally an NHL schedule, it varies. What we have tonight, 7 or 8 games. That's the norm. some days we'll get 13 here, and those are the big ticket ones. But this is kind of right in between. Yesterday we had 2 games, 4 teams. That's my sweet spot. But then here, when you look at all these games, the same rules apply. I don't care if there's 25 games. I've told folks till I'm blue in the face, you kind of got to cut it in half and then maybe cut that in half, and you're left with 4 or 5 teams here. But when we
He seems to be muted.
Excuse me. Thank you for that. I had a mute button so I could cough. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be rude because last time I did that, Spence got me good when I did that, and he sent the tweet all over the world here. So when we look at this slate here, it's normally it's a nice hefty slate here. 7-8 games. That's pretty much the norm. Yesterday we had four teams, 2 games. That's my sweet spot. So no matter how many games are here, I said it till I'm blue in the face. Where you cut it in half again. I want to start all Winnipeg. The Minnesota Wild come to town to take on the Winnipeg Jets here. If you look at the spreads here, Winnipeg is getting a goal here. Money line kind of favors Minnesota here in terms of goal projections and projected winners. They have Minnesota projected to win this one like 60-65% here. And when we look at this, a lot of folks are going to be on, let's just throw some out there. Edmonton is playing tonight, Pittsburgh, Boston, which I will get to. But to me, I like to look in other areas that not a lot of folks are paying attention to. Minnesota Wild, they're continue this road trip right after the All-Star break, and they're visiting Winnipeg, Manitoba to take on the Jets. Or Minnesota comes in Tuesday night, 28-10-3, and they're riding a 6-game winning streak. They beat Washington, I believe, Chicago 5-0 last time out. Cam Talbot has been lights out for Minnesota, and offensively, it's been all about this kid Kirill Kaprizov here. He leads Minnesota points, assists, team high 19 goals on only 143 shots. The Winnipeg Jets finally back at home here. They're struggling after losing 4 of their last 5 games, following a 1 loss to in this one. For the season, Winnipeg has used 2 goalies back and forth. Not really, they can't find, Connor Hellebuck is hopefully their mainstay here, but he's like at a 9-1 kind of save percentage here. So I really love the Minnesota Wild. I talk, baseball, basketball. I want to call them Minnesota Wild, Minnesota Timberwolves, the Minnesota Wild tonight. And when you look at this one, it's all about their first line. Ryan Hartman, line 1, power play unit 2, and then Kirill Kaprizov, first line and first power play unit, along with Matt Zuccarello, who I feel like every time I'm on here talking hot, I mention this guy because he's just out. First line, first power play unit. And then if you want to get same game stack, your onslaught stack, however you want to call it, look at those Minnesota Wild first power play unit. And if you want a little taste to Winnipeg, use Mark Scheifele and even Andrew Kopp here. And when you look at the Winnipeg Jets, it's all about Kyle Connor, but this guy's $9,600 here. And I think there's other ways we can go here. So let's look at Minnesota 1. On the second game here that I'd like to talk about, I'm talking a full game stack here. Pittsburgh goes to Boston. TD Waterhouse, I think, is where they play. The Boston Celtics play there. Kind of the same deal as Little Caesars Arena. Hockey, basketball. And well, the Pittsburgh Penguins, after the All-Star break, they go boom, right to Boston, across the country here. They've been 1-4 their last 5 games. At their last loss was 4 to the Washington Capitals here. On the year, Pittsburgh, they're only scoring about 3.3 goals a game here, which you would say, oh, that's not bad. 3.5 goals rounded up there. You like that, but the defense has allowed about 3.6 goals a game here, so there's a little difference in here. Their power play is just not all that well here. And when we look at the Boston Bruins, they're 2-3 their last 5 games. Last game before the break, they ended up beating Seattle 3-2. And when you look at Boston here, about that first line, I can't talk about them enough. And I know a lot of folks do bring that up on the screen I have here that no one can see. It's Patrice, it's Brad, Craig Smith, all 3 guys on the first line. Brad Patrice plays power play unit, and Craig Smith, the last guy on that first line, also at the second power play unit here. So as it stands right now, I'm still in the midst of looking some of my stacks here, but Minnesota 1 and Boston 1. You have to get Karina left in the lurch for defense, but you can dig through it if you're way into hockey like I am, you can a few other stacks I enjoy here. I won't go over every game because we know I can. I heard recently, actually this morning, that Alexander Ovechkin looks to be active. He was in the morning skate around. It'll be nice for Washington to have him back. However, I love Washington, their second line here. And you're looking at Nicholas Backstrom, Tom Wilson, Connor Sherry, all three guys. It's when you talk about hockey, you say this guy's in a top 6 role. That means the first 3 lines, these guys, they play a first line, second line, first PP, and second power here. So Tom Wilson and Connor Sherry have gotten a taste of it all. First line for play unit. But tonight against a reeling Columbus Blue Jackets team, give me Washington second line. More, do 2 more, just in this one down, Scott, or anybody else. I love Vancouver Canucks, their second line. They're at home hosting the Arizona Coyotes here. Their second line is Bo Horvath, Tanner Pearson, even a little bit of Garland here. So to me, all about Minnesota 1, full stacking Pittsburgh at Boston. And if you want to get creative, go Vancouver 2 and Washington 2. And I know I could go and all night. New Jersey 1. Got beat last night with Senators, and I really didn't see it coming. But again, hopefully they get their rookie back Hughes and a couple other pieces to fall here. So if you're in a pinch, if you want some salary relief, go to New Jersey 1, and we'll see what we got going at the end of the broadcast. I have a couple nice little bets here and some over for everybody out there.
Hell yeah! I mean, who does it better than Beastie here? That's all I want to know, man. That's how you break down some NHL, that is for sure. But NBA 2 tonight, Beastie, we got 10 games in the NBA field here tonight. I mean, of course, you got to keep your ear to the ground. It's something we constantly say. We got some guys here with some tags that we're not quite sure about here if they're going to get in there. If Harden's going to get in there, Claxton's going to get in there for the Nets. We're not sure about the Pacers with Brogdon. Maybe Jackson. We're not sure about Eric Gordon. I think he's questionable, but I think he should be out tonight from what I see. I don't know about Cade Cunningham. I think they're going to leave him out tonight as well. Dwight Howard, Beverly, Prince, and Reed, D'Angelo Russell for the Timberwolves. Bagley. I think Fox might get in there tonight now that Halliburton got traded. Moritz Wagner as well. The Suns are on the second half of a back-to-back here as well as the Knicks here. So that's 2 teams to be questionable. New Orleans, Noel. I mean, with the Knicks there, Kemba Walker. These are guys that they're going to have to watch. They got beat yesterday by Utah. So, really the question is Harden's going to be in there tonight. I think he's the guy that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. With the news of Halliburton getting traded, I'm going to assume Fox is going to be in there. If not, that should open up a little bit of value there. With them, going to have to keep our eyes and ears not to the ground about Fox there, that's for sure. But just kind of looking at some guys to pay up for. I mean, Trae Young is a guy I'd look to pay up for. Maybe a Luka as well tonight against the Pistons. I think Luka should probably have a pretty good game here against our hometown boys. Maybe a Valanciunas down there at center against Houston. Houston has been so bad defensively. I mean, they are like 5 points worse in these last month or two than they were at the beginning of the season, which was number one. I think they give up like 116 per 100% possessions, and now they're up to almost 120. So Houston has not been playing good defense at all. So another team that we want to target. But another team there, another guy, Jalen Brunson against the Pistons tonight, might be a guy that we can use. But looks like Pelicans, looks like some Mavericks. Those are guys that we can go to some value. Maybe now the Kings with that trade. But talking about the Pistons, though, Beastie, we do have the Pistons at Dallas, 8:30. We got over-under started out at 213. It's down to 212. Dallas started out minus 12, is now at minus 11.5. Looking at this game, 70% of the money at this point has come in on the Mavericks here at this point. So heavily being backed at this point here with what I see against the spread here. The Pistons are 26 and 27 against the spread here recently. Dallas is 28, 25 and 1. The over-under is interesting here for Dallas, 19, 34 and 1 as far as going over. So I mean, almost 2-1 of their games have been going under which I thought was interesting, kind of looking up at this one here. But Beastie, just kind of looking around, like the trends here, like we mentioned, the over is 7-1 in the last 8 games with the team with a winning record. The under is 5-1 in the last 6 games, though, with a road team, a winning home record. And then you got Dallas here. The over is 4-0 their last 4 games as a favorite. And then the under is 6-1 the last 7 games playing on 1 day's rest. And then the under is 10-2 in the Mavericks' last 12 games as a home favorite. Just kind of looking back at these Pistons here, they have not covered the last 3 out of 4. They did cover against Boston there by a couple points. The last 3 out of 4 also have gone under for the Pistons. And then you look at these Mavericks here. Their last game was 2 days ago against Atlanta, which they did cover. They are 2-1 in their last 3 games, 2-2 their last 4. Same as the over/under 2-2. So, man, Beastie, I don't know. Without Cade Cunningham, I just don't think the Pistons have enough offense. I mean, that is a pretty high line, 11.5. But I think I'd feel safe to roll with Dallas here. But one thing I'd be afraid of, playing these guys like Luka and Brunson and some of these guys. I mean, if they're up ahead and they are a blowout, you might find where they don't play the fourth quarter. So that is a concern. Maybe that's something we could look at in some of our prop bets. I know, Beer the one day talked about that, in these blow-up situations here where there's a blowout, you might be able to hit some of these props on some of these superstars that have high point totals, high assist, rebound assist totals. And then we just kind of hope Pistons get blown out and they sit the fourth quarter and we cruise to up to the cash out window. But just something to think about. But BC, what do you think of NBA? Is there anything I missed or anything you want to add? But I think the Pistons got their work cut out for them tonight.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and that's fine. Again, I've mentioned it how many times here on this past, same thing with the Wings. When they lose, you're hanging in there. Injuries are too much, but the rest of these guys, Sadiq Bey, even a little bit of Isaiah Stewart, it's all a learning experience. Do I expect the Pistons to beat Dallas with Luka, Jalen Brunson, and no, but there is a silver lining in this one with prop bets, as you said, down the list of the Dallas Mavericks here. Luka Doncic is just a shoo-in, right? He's $11,200 on FanDuel. I only have him, and if you look across the board, for about 30 minutes in this one. But as a surefire superstar, you would like to think that they're stuck. He'd be playing 35, 40 minutes here. But again, as everything points to tip-off here very soon, the whole world and the betting community just knows that Dallas is just going to get up and ahead in this one. And more than likely, as you put it, Luka, Brunson, maybe even, Powell, don't see a whole heck of a lot of action in the fourth quarter. That factor, write down these bench players, a few Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, maybe even a little bit of Frank Nikita. Remember, he played for, not mistaken. Write these guys' names down and look at their over-under props or the minutes on the court here. Because Luka, I would imagine, after I looked at his over-under points, to get any plus money, it's got to be Luka plus or over 40 points, and even that's like plus 230. The rest of them, over 30 points is only it's still minus 210. So there's no money to be made in stacking up Luka single game parlays to me today. So look at a guy like Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, and go from there here. And overall, I love the idea that when you look at this from start to finish, let me bring it up. I'm using these silly filler words like as we look up or realistically. But to be fair with you, on the slate, we have 10 games here. And the last one, the tip-off, Minnesota, is Sacramento. That has the highest over-under out of all of them. So what a great for a late game hammer. So when you look at Minnesota and Sacramento, you and I remember you and I have talked about Minnesota in length about 2 broadcasts now, fairly recent, because it was a home and away with the Pistons here. So I have no issue looking at Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, even D'Angelo Russell, if he's active here. And on the Sacramento side of things, mentioned De'Aaron Fox, who's got a game time decision tag on there, but tip-off is at 10 p.m. in California there. If he's active, I'm looking at him. Harrison Barnes as well. I know this just this past weekend alone, as I was digging NBA, I had a whole heck of a lot of Harrison Barnes and even Davion Mitchell. They're starting Sacramento starting point guard, still only $5,700 on FanDuel, and you're looking at probably 30 plus minutes for this kid in a game here where it's just going to be back and forth. Final should be 120 to 115 or something like that. So to me, mix and match where you can, sprinkle in a little bit of Dallas here, and then go straight to Minnesota, Sacramento. Or if you want to get a little, the Orlando-Portland game, which is also at 10 p.m., and we'll move on. Yusef Nurkic and even Anthony Simmons, their Portland starting point guard here, only $6,500. So there is some nice value here in these late games. Milwaukee at the Lakers as well, Orlando at Portland, Minnesota, Sacramento. Those three games, I'm going to have a long, hard look at them in my main slates, which lock at 7 p.m. It's that late game hammer, and we'll see what we get this time tomorrow, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, that Kings line bumped up 2 points after that Halliburton trade, so that's going to screw up that rotation a little bit there. But yeah, NBA, man, I played NBA, in the years here, but too many moving pieces here recently, especially during this trade deadline. You really got to be paying attention here for the little bit of edge you can get in the NBA. But the good thing we got a couple college games here tonight, Beastie. But before we get to that, just want to give a shout out to our other sponsor of the show, and that is the Jars Cannabis Company shop, jarscannabis.com. They offer delivery, pickup, and in-store shopping. Michigan's largest variety for any of the lifestyle needs. Jars Cannabis is a medical and recreational retailer located throughout Michigan, Lansing, Detroit, Flint, Grand Rapids, and more. And hey, if you mention Woodward Sports and the Woodward Bet Show, you're going to get 20% off at your order at any Jars location. So enjoy a little bit of something on us for being loyal listeners. But Beastie, while we're enjoying our jars here, we can sit back, and we do have a couple of college games here tonight, which I'm kind of looking forward to. Getting close here to March Madness. So we're in February. We're deep into these college conference seasons here. We're starting to see what teams are rising to the top, which are falling to the bottom. Unfortunately, our Michigan Wolverines have not been faring all that well this year, but still exciting for everything. We got 7 o'clock tip-off tonight with our Wisconsin Badgers. Well, we'll say the Beer Man's Wisconsin Badgers playing the Michigan State Spartans here. I mean, man, Sparties, they walked out of New Jersey with their tail between their legs after getting beat by Rutgers. But man, Charlotte, the Scarlet Knights shot 61% from the field. That's talk about being on fire. That's incredible. But you kind of look at Wisconsin. They haven't been the normal Wisconsin team that's very low scoring. They've been actually scoring a little bit more points here recently this season, which is a little bit different. You always used to see Wisconsin, you'd be thinking, all right, we can talk about an under here in this game. But just kind of looking at some of these trends here with Wisconsin, the over is 4-0 in the last road games against a winning record. The Badgers are 0-5 though in their last 5 games overall against the spread, which is an interesting one. The Sparties are 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games as a favorite, even though they are 4-0 against the spread after 4 games after a straight-up loss. And I think that's where I am, Beastie, here with this game here. I think after getting spanked by Rutgers here, I think Michigan State came back to reality a little bit. And I think Izzo likes these kind of situations where, they end up losing. I think he uses them as learning type, situation. I think this is going to be something here. You're going to see the Sparties come out. I think they're going to be focused. And I like him here against this Wisconsin Badger team at home. So what do you think here, BC? Sparties, give him 4 points. Over under is at 138.5. Money line minus 185 on the Spartans, plus 155 on Wisconsin. But I think I'd just take the Sparties here, minus the 4. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's as easy as it gets for me. As you said, it's the beginning of February here, and March is right around the corner. This is where Izzo does his best work, aside from the national championship, and the tournament there, March Madness. This is where he's going to flip the switch in terms of coaching, pick up the pace in practice, get these kids moving in and out of the game, methodically like a well-oiled machine here. And boom, Michigan State, after they win here tonight and cover, will be often just waiting to get into the tournament, just chomping at the bit here. But for this one here, I love everything about Michigan State, minus the 4 points. The over under on the screen here says 139. You said 138 and a half. In a regular person, they wouldn't even care. But sometimes we know when we're betting on sports, a half a point realistically does make all the difference. I don't think it matters. I think we see like a 142, 143 kind of final here. So I would take Michigan State minus the 4. I would take Michigan State's money line said -1, I believe, and I would take the over if you want. A lot of these sports book, you can only do one or the other. You can't stack up all three of those, on the same game here. At least several of them, FanDuel, DraftKings, however you want to put it here. But I think Michigan State rolls. You're looking at a win by, I'm guessing, like 12, maybe 13 points here. The last few minutes of the game. Wisconsin, playing it easy. They're in the bonus, something like that. Nothing crazy. They'll get out a couple free throws, maybe a 3 under a minute left here. In Michigan State, it won't matter. They will still prevail, and they will absolutely cover the 4 points in this one.
Yeah, I just think the Sparties are so deep, starting to develop into a pretty well-rounded tournament team. But, stumbling every now and then is good for a team. And I know Izzo doesn't seem to mind. Like I said, it just seems to motivate him and his team as the time moves on. Of course, that one's at 7. Then at 9 o'clock, right after BC, we have our Michigan Wolverines going to Penn State here to face the Nittany Lions. So just looking at the against the spread records, Michigan is 8-12 against the spread. The Penn State Nittany Lions are 10-9 against the spread. Penn State 7-3 at home, and Michigan is 2-6 here on the road. But looking at some of the trends, the Nittany Lions, the under is 4-0 against the Nittany Lions following a win. The Nittany Lions are also 5-0 against their spread in their last 5 home games. And then the under is 5-1 in their last 6 games following against the spread win. Michigan is 6-0. The over is 6-0 actually in the last Wolverines 6 games overall. The over is actually 5-0 in their last 5 games as a favorite. So just kind of looking around here, Beastie, Michigan, I mean, we saw them. They battled with Purdue. They held close there to the end until the final 2 minutes, who is at this point at the top of the Big Ten. But beforehand, Michigan struggled here. We've seen them lose 3 games in a row against the spread. They lost to Nebraska, Michigan State, Wisconsin. They actually did cover there against Purdue. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row have gone over here. So, you know what, Beastie, it's tough for some of these teams to win on the road here in the Big Ten. Just kind of looking here at these numbers. I mean, now you're looking at Michigan -2. Penn State is getting 2 at home. Penn State plus 110 on the money line. Beastie, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit concerned here about Michigan. Michigan needs to win this game. Both these teams need to win this game to help build that resume to get in that NCAA tournament. But I think it's going to be a tough one here. I mean, we see Michigan, that 2 spread. I mean, you kind of talk about playing on a neutral floor. How many points are we talking about? So to me, man, I just fear these games here that are supposed to be close, and when these teams are on the road, especially in the Big Ten here. But what do you think? You think Michigan's got a shot here? Do you think they got the work cut out for them? What are your thoughts here on this Michigan-Penn State game?
The one thing that stood out to me when you mention it, the over-under is only at 130. And if you do the math, right, if you do the averages here, a final score, let's just amuse me here or humor me here. A final score of 80-80 would be 160 60. That blows out the over-under by 30 points here. So when you look at this one, their last few games, Michigan, they've scored 76 points, 85 points, 67 points, 72 points, and 80 points again. So they're averaging, let's just call it what it is. Off the top of my head, they're averaging probably around 75 points, meaning Penn State would only have to average like 70 or 80 points here. And that's the weak link in this over-under. Michigan, again, off the top of my head, averaging 75 or 80 points here. So realistically, all Penn State would have to do is hang 51 points, 52 points, and boom, you hit the over here. The weak link, Kate, they've scored their last few games, they've scored 49 points, 90 points. That's a nice one. 57 points and 51 points here. So Michigan should be able to carry this one in terms of the over-under here. It still seems light to me. But again, as I said, Penn State is the weak link in this one. And I still would go on the over here because you're looking at a final score of 8, let's just call it 85 to 75. Boom, you blow the over-under out of the door here. In terms of the game, yeah, both teams need a win. I think Michigan gets it done looking back at Penn State's last 4 or 5, not even getting to 60 points except for that one game where they got to 90 when they beat Iowa, 90 to 86 or so. So to me, one thing that's standing out like is the over 130 points in this one, and whoever wins, it's inconsequential because I'm like a dog with a bone. All I see is this over under, and ding, 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 give me the over in this one, Scott.
Yeah, I don't blame you there at all. I mean, it's tough to call some of these teams, these games sometimes, like I said, these close spreads on the road. I mean, anything could happen. But Beastie, before we get to our favorite part of the show, the best bets, is there anything we need that we missed today, anything we want to talk about, anything you want to bring up before we give out the winners for the day?
Yeah, really quick, if I may. I was on my way where I went to the grocery store, had a doctor's appointment, something like that, and I heard we all know who Al Michaels is. He's of Monday Night Football. He's the guy in ABC. Well, he was on Howard Stern this morning, and he's calling his this Sunday. It'll be his 11th Super Bowl as the announcer in this one, and it looks as though his contract is up with ABC, and they're not going to have him back. They are replacing Al Michaels with Mike Tirico, local guys from Michigan, lives in Ann Arbor here, and I want to give a shout out to Al Michaels because the guy is such a professional. I listened to almost every minute of the interview today. He's in his in his early days. The guy's been broadcasting for like 40, 50 years. The first Super Bowl, he was like 22 years old here that he went as a fan here. So as it stands now, it looks as though Al Michaels is going to go and broadcast, on Amazon Prime, the Thursday Night Football. They're picking that all up. But I just want folks to say, watch a Super Bowl, Monday Night Football. You don't know how hard it is for these guys and these girls, even if you're a sideline reporter. Heck, if you're in the booth, even if you dislike Joe Buck or Chris Collinsworth, even Al Michaels, these guys just take notes and notes, and it's amazing to me. Aside from the game, I pay attention to the broadcasters because play-by-play is next to impossible for a regular human being. I've tried it in college, some Tigers games. It is unbelievably hard here. So shout out to Al Michaels. He's not going away. He's not riding off into the sunset. But, when everything else is going on Sunday, after you get your bets placed, you made your nachos, you're with your friends eating wings, just take 2 minutes and really listen to what Al Michaels is doing. Let's just call it what it is. People read music, they play instruments, whatever, they sing. I mean, what Al Michaels does, he's an artist, and it needs to be appreciated more here, Scott. His last call as a Super Bowl play-by-play guy in probably ever. I hate to say that, but it looks as though it's headed that way here, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, that generation of sports announcers, Beastie, unfortunately, we're starting to lose them. We see it with Dick Vitale. We're starting to see it with John Madden, Pat Summeralls, all these guys that you and I grew up to, that every time we flipped on the channel, I mean, Keith Jackson. I mean, there was a lot of guys that Ernie Harwell, for me, was one of the greatest, and then, of course, Dick Enberg, and then, obviously all the other great sports announcers throughout the country. But yeah, it's a shame to see these guys go. There are some decent good ones, though, that have been coming up through the ranks, but it's just so hard to compare against these guys that you grew up listening to. And yeah, it is sad to see some of these guys, retiring and moving on to other things. But Beastie, I mean, we got to get into the exciting time here. We got some money to make. We got business to take care of. We got to get to some best bets here. So what do you got here today for the people on Tuesday?
No doubt it's going to be all hockey because I know I can leave it to you, Scott, to do NBA and college basketball here. But so let's focus on hockey. As I said, the Washington Capitals are at home. They're hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. I love the Washington Capitals minus a goal and a half. I think Washington hangs. I think they win 4-1, 5-1, something like that. So Washington minus a goal and a half is set in stone. Also said Minnesota, they are playing this evening. Let me find it in my notes here. I like Minnesota minus 145, so you could take Minnesota in the money line. They're in Winnipeg here. I think Minnesota scores 4 or 5 goals in comparisons to Winnipeg's 1 or 2 here. And then I have 2 over-unders here. As I said, Pittsburgh at Boston. I love the over 6 goals here. I think it'd be a finish of 4-3, 5-4, something like that. So you're looking at well past the 6 goals here in Pittsburgh at Boston. And then one more, Carolina is at Ottawa. Both teams played last night. Both teams, they were on the road, I believe. So now Ottawa is back home. They welcome in Carolina. And I think I'm going to go the under in that one. I think the final there is only 3-1, 2-1 here. So give me the under with Carolina, Ottawa. Recap, Washington Capitals minus a goal and a half. Minnesota Wild minus 145. Pittsburgh, Boston over 6 goals, and then Carolina at Ottawa under 5.5 goals. Write it down, grab a pen. It's already booked for me.
Oh, man, perfect. We got 4 games there from Beastie. I myself have 3 today that I ended up liking. I'm going to start with the first 2 are in the college basketball ranks, as Beastie mentioned. And the first one is I'm going to bet on the Sparties today. Michigan guy here. I'm fully on board with the Spartans today to beat Wisconsin. So I'm going to take that minus the 4. The other game I've been looking at is UCF minus 1.5 against Wichita State. So I'm going to take University of Central Florida as well. And then in the NBA tonight, Beastie, I'm going to roll with the over in this Houston game here. Houston's just been god-awful. New Orleans, as far as defense goes. So I am going to roll with the over 224.5 at this point. So give me the over in that game, and then give me these 2 college basketball games, as I mentioned, the Michigan State Spartans minus 4, and then UCF minus the 1.5 against Wichita. So, but hopefully we can stay hot for everybody. I know we've been doing pretty well here recently with our best bets, but Beastie, before we get out of here, I just want to give one last shout out to our favorite sponsor of the show, and that would be Better Rate Mortgage here. Better Rate Mortgage. Family is more than blood. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family, actually better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit mybetterrate.com or call 248-480-4467 today. So, Beastie, any words of wisdom before we get on out of here today?
No, we're one day closer to the Super Bowl, and I say it all the time. Realistically, I just said it 2 minutes ago about Al Michaels, but this is just the perfect time to stop and smell the roses. We've come so far this season, right? It's just been a long, grinding, arduous process, and now, in a way, we can rest. There's no need to just get up in arms and just go, go, go. Stop and rest, and we're a few days away from the Super Bowl. Stop and take it in. Go reach out to somebody. You said it best the other day, Scott. Send a text to your grandma you haven't talked to in a month, or an ex-girlfriend you left on bad terms. Don't get yourself in a bad spot. Just say, hey, I understand. I miss you, whatever you got to do. Because again, in a month or two, you never know what life is going to be in store for you, us, or anybody here. So stop and take stock of what's important for your own life here.
That's good advice. That is for sure. Make sure definitely you reach out to that person maybe you haven't talked to in a little while. Simple little text. Anything makes the world a difference. But that is going to do it here for the Woodward Bet Show today. So for Spencer behind the glass, for Detroit Beastie, I am Scott. We appreciate you guys listening and joining in, and we will catch you guys tomorrow.